A very warm welcome to Joburg Today. I'm your host, Riley Posakwe, bringing you the 411 on what's happening on your local streets of the city of gold. Yesterday was a fun-filled day where we celebrated all the beautiful women in our lives. Yes, sirree, it was National Women's Day, and they came out dressed to the T to attend the Emmarentia Live. And of course, we Joburg Today had to be part of that to capture the moment.
Women's Day marks the anniversary of the Great Women's March of 1956, and Joburgers celebrated the day in style by attending Emmarentia Live, which is a musical festival hosted at the Johannesburg Botanical Gardens in Emmarentia.
So Emmarentia Live is an iconic South African music festival. So it's complete with South Africa's top music artists, including Mango Groove, Mikasa, Fleshly Ground, Gangs of Ballet. We've got Good Luck, Bad Pizza, some up-and-coming artists as well. And it's just a collection of artists that appeal to all South Africans. Well, we chose Women's Day because Women's Day is a celebration of women in South Africa. And as can be seen with our artists, we've got some of the top female musicians. And all the artists appeal to females and men as well. So it's something for everyone, you know.
I think this is the day that we really, as South African women, really need to look forward to this day. Looking back from where we come from to where we are today, and thanks to those women back in the days, in 1956, those were the real Mpokotos, And as young women today in Joburg, it's all about being modern, be sophisticated, and just having fun.
This concert's amazing. It's going to be fantastic. Music's already started brilliantly. And it's so great to be an aging hippie on such a brilliant day with such gorgeous weather and marvelous people and having such fun with everybody.
Day off, my children are being looked after by Granny, so this is a real Women's Day. Out with my girls and just enjoying the sunshine. Are you having fun though? Such fun. This is awesome, and it's only going to get better. I mean, it's going till 6 tonight or something, so yeah. Woo!
Absolutely great day out with friends. So leave the kids at home, good day with friends, and
Gin
celebrate
and
Women's Day to the girls and gin and tonics.
What a beautiful way to celebrate Women's Day. And I must say, all the women from Johannesburg look so beautiful. Joburg women, you rock. I'm Mashego for Joburg Today.
As always, we love hearing from you. So do yourself that favor and hit the like button on our Facebook. That's joburgtoday.tv, or simply follow us on Twitter at Joburg Today. The inclusion of women in business has become something of a crucial part to the success of any company, which is why Noshina had the chance to sit down with Dr. Demartini, who enlightened us a little bit more on this crucial issue.
The Business Women's Association says bold measures should be taken to ensure gender parity in the workplace. Well, to discuss further, I have with me world-renowned human behavior specialist, who is now a regular guest on Leading Opinion, Dr. John Demartini. Do women have genuine concerns in the workplace from your experience as a human behavior specialist?
Without a doubt, there's challenges that many, I won't say all, but many women are facing. Sometimes you're dealing with a previous generation that grew up with a gender split. So the more objective we become about our performances, and once we show that whether they're male or female, they're actually getting the job done and doing extraordinary jobs, I think we're still holding on to that past generation. I think the next generations and the future generations, that gender split is going to be less and less and less. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that you can't just force it upon companies. You can't just say, okay, you have to have now 50-50. Mm-hmm. I think it has to be respected and earned. Mm-hmm. Because if you put somebody in there that the respect is not there, it can backfire on you. Sure. But the ideal is strive for, and then working towards that over a gradual period of time and getting quality people in there and making sure that that job is really delivered is essential. And sometimes women way outperform men, and sometimes the other way around. So you can't just look at it from a subjective idea that that's a man or woman. They have to look at what the performance is. The purpose of a company is to serve people and make profits. Mm-hmm. And if it's doing that, whoever's doing that, they deserve their position. And many times now, females are getting the highest educations, and they're coming in there, and there's no reason why they don't deserve those same positions.
Sure.
But you can't just force it. I've seen that backfire, because what happens is the teams see that, they don't respect it, they haven't earned it, and it's just positioned. But when it is actually demonstrated as power, then it should not be stopped. Should not be judging it because, well, if she's a female, she shouldn't be paid as much. The reality is that if they perform the job, they deserve the job.
Yeah, there's been talk in South Africa for quite some time around introducing legislation to ensure gender parity. You just mentioned very briefly the dangers of doing that, because I think it comes down to productivity, and you also need to be properly qualified for the position. But if we have to look at South Africa's transition, we've always been having this debate whether it is racial parity or gender parity. We've pushed legislation when it comes to achieving racial parity in the workplace, and we're still debating the country's broad-based black economic empowerment codes that are now obligatory on businesses. They need to employ a certain percentage of black executives, and we want to see more black CEOs being appointed on JSE-listed companies as well. So the position is it could be managed if perhaps when it comes to the gender parity issue, if it's implemented for a period of time, provided that they're well qualified, just to shift the awareness, to force companies to maybe tap into the talent of woman potential that they currently have in an organization?
Well, I think that the legislation is inevitable, and the goal of gender equality is essential. But the reality is that you can't force it. You have to allow it to be organic. Because if you put a group of people in a room, there's a natural pecking order,
maybe
a hierarchy.
It needs more buy-in, positive buy-in.
They're putting the rules in there, and the laws and regulation is going to be an ideal. But it's going to take a period of time, possibly a generation, to be able to pull that off. Once it's in place, and once there's enough educated people to compete in that and come in and do that, then we've accomplished it. But there'll be a transition where there'll be people put in place that may not be the most qualified and capable or respected, and what happens, it can undermine the productivity temporarily.
Yeah.
But if they've earned the right, and there has to be objective data to be able to sustain that job. If they're doing the job, they deserve it.
Yeah.
If they're not doing the job, they need to be able to pull from the ranks of other individuals of equal gender to be able to pull in that job.
So
it can't be just a job because
there should be criteria in place.
Criteria. So I think that's a minimal criteria that you base it on. You base it on the performance, the education, the skills, how people will respect. You can put somebody in there with all the skills and talent, but they don't have the respect from people because they don't know how to do people skills.
I mean, we've seen that being abused as well in some companies, where it comes down to window dressing, especially with regards to those BEE codes that I mentioned as well.
Yes.
So that is a very valid point.
And that can actually backfire, because what it's done is then people are losing respect, and also people then feel like they're just put in a position, they're not really producing. People want to feel that they're producing. They want to make a difference. And you get them in the right position and put them in the right thing where their job descriptions match their values, and they excel. And so it's not just gender and racial. It has to be also, selection has to be based on what their values are, what their skills and talents are, and put them in the right place.
So it's also about women being bold enough and also pushing themselves forward in corporations. What advice can you offer to women wanting to climb the corporate ladder, to get noticed, to get that promotion that they want?
Well, sometimes it is outward affected. Sometimes it's inward affected. And you have to discern whether it's your own stuff inside that's actually stopping you from moving forward. But I just worked with a woman, I think it was yesterday or the night before, that was in that position. She wants to move forward, and she said, what do I do? Because she felt that there was some pressure against her and holding it back. I said, make a document of everything that you have learned since the last positioning and the last income. Everything you've learned, every skill you've done, every accomplishment, every achievement, every new understanding and research and programs you've attended to. Make a list of all the things that you are now showing objectively that are different than when you got paid and put in last position. Show what you're wanting to do, that you're taking on accountabilities, more accountabilities than you started with. Document things so nobody can argue with that. So it's nothing to do with opinion, it's there, fact. Then go in there and make sure that you're thinking of what's the benefit to the company Because it's not about just because you're a woman, you deserve it. It's you have to produce for the company. And if you're producing for the company, you deserve it. You want to make sure you know what the margins of the company are, because you can't just ask for raise that are higher than what the margins of the company are. So you need to really investigate the company and care enough about the company to ask for reasonable upgrades.
So talk to the company's values.
Talk to the company's values, talk to and get the... I had a lady that said, well, I've been here so many years, I deserve more. And I said, that's not what it's based on. It's based on productivity. So find out what the actual bottom line is of the company, find out what you're actually doing objectively, and nobody can argue with that, and then you can prove it. And because you're showing a value, you're indispensable. You want to be able to make yourself so indispensable that they don't want to lose you, so you have the leverage. You also be able to make sure that you have options out in the marketplace that you can go. So you can in negotiation, if you have no other options, you're stuck. You're the underdog. Go in there and make sure you do have leverage out there that somebody else would want you to. When you do, you got a lot more power. Make sure you're communicating in the values of the person who's making the decision. Because if you're not how to communicate in their values, you're automatically going to be shut back. And make sure that it's reasonable, and think of the effects of across the board, not just your own life, but across all the employees and all the different departments. What impact it will have if all of a sudden you do that? Is that going to make everybody else do that? And is that going to make the company now under pressure? Think of every variable you can, and the more you do, and the more integral you are, and the more objective you are, and the more you're considering the company and yourself, the higher the probability that you're going to keep moving. Because very few people in a company, when they see somebody dedicated to helping the company, very few people are going to turn that back. Mm-hmm. When somebody comes to me and shows that they're really wanting to think of new creative ways and come up with ways of producing more and helping the company and serving people more effectively and taking on new innovations and things, you'd be pretty much of a fool to turn that back. You want to make sure that that's rewarded and move forward in the business. It'll help the whole business grow, and the person who's savvy enough to see that will encourage that.
You also work with organizations, Dr. Demartini, and you speak about values and how, as you just mentioned, it's so important to talk to the values of the organizations for people to understand their highest values so that we can see each other as customers, etc. Have you had the opportunity to actually shift cultures within organizations and buy into your teachings and philosophy around values?
And some people, depending on their highest values, they may have a goal to help their family, they may have a goal to make a difference in the community, they may have a goal in their health. I mean, there's different values for each person. If they can't see how their job description is helping them fulfill their highest values, and they can't see how the mission, vision, and primary objectives of the company or the department is helping them fulfill their highest values, they're not going to be engaged. They're not going to be maximum productive. They're going to end up wanting to get a break, and they'll be watching the clock and escaping and going to immediate gratifying things to avoid working. But when they have congruency and they can see how all that leads to their fulfillment, they take on ownership of the company. They feel that it's their company. They feel pride, and they go out of their way and they perform. So getting high engagement in the company is crucial. I've had the opportunity to bring that into various companies. In Japan, I brought it into many companies recently. And it was amazing. We had one particular company that introduced it into one of the branches. It's a very large manufacturing of clothes company. And they brought it into one department, and then it spread through the one main building. And then that building went on to other branches, and it just kept growing until eventually the CEO came in and met with me and said, what are we doing? What's happening here? We're having greater performance, we're having a spike, what's happening? I said, people can now see how their job duties are helping them fulfill their values, and they're wanting to go to work. They're not interested in breaks. Think about it, when you're really into a project and you're really focused, if you want to take a break, it's quickly to get back to the project.
Yep.
When you're not inspired by it, you're looking to the clock and go, when can I take the break? And you're taking every second of that break. And you're wanting to get something, food or a stimulant or whatever to keep you going. When you're engaged, you're focused and you're there and you're thinking of serving people and you're customer oriented. So getting maximum engagement is what I'm interested in. And the best question you can ever ask is, how is the job duty I'm doing helping me fulfill what's most meaningful and purposeful for me, my highest value?
Yeah.
And how is fulfilling the company's mission helping me fulfill what's most meaningful to me? The more people in the company doing that, from the top all the way down, the higher the productivity of the company, and the lower the cost, the lower the distractions and all the HR and personality problems and things of this nature. Because a lot of the symptoms of a company are feedback mechanisms to try to get people engaged. And if we don't get engaged, we create symptoms that cost the company profits and makes people not wanting to serve. And you can tell when you go to a restaurant or a department store when somebody's really inspired, when they're there. They're service oriented. And you can tell when they're just there.
Absolutely.
And you'll draw and magnetize more business when you're really present with people and helping people.
Dr. Demartini, time for just one more question. Back to the topic, which is women in the workplace. Women have unique qualities they bring to the workplace, and research has shown that it makes economic sense to hire more women in top positions as well. But my question to you is, from a male perspective, what can women learn from men when it comes to leadership?
I have nothing to say. They say a man becomes a man when he comes to appreciate the intuitive qualities of a woman. A woman becomes a woman when she appreciates the qualities of the man. No, all companies, whether companies are realizing it or not, are striving for androgyny. It's looking for a gender balance. And the more it forces itself to try to be one or the other, nature brings it back and forces it back. So if you go to, I always say that you have two cycles in the market. When the market's really booming, they start putting a little bit more fat and a lot more socialism, you might say, and everybody kind of gets more opportunities, et cetera. Then when all of a sudden the market goes down, they trim all the fat. Yeah. And all of a sudden it goes masculine. So it goes back and forth. But a wise company won't allow itself to go too fast or too slow. It regulates and self-governs. Southwest Airlines was a great example of a person that didn't want it to grow too fast or too slow, but kept it moderated and brought a nice androgyny balance, male and female balance. Companies are striving for balance, and that is essential. So if you actually get that, you actually build the company more effectively. So it's not about just opinions about what we should do it because of racial or color. It's about, that's just what works. And we need to know that and realize that. It's been proven that we need both genders.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Great chatting to you as always, Dr. Demartini.
Thank you.
I'm John Terode, and you're watching Joburg Today.
And that's all the time we have for you folks, but be sure to check out our playlist to see what's happening in and around your beautiful city. From me, Riley Sagani Posakwe, I bid you farewell and do have a blessed day.